Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet that's actually just like another secret way to launch a whole wrestling podcast that me and Brandon are going to do. I'm your host, Will, and joining me today, Brandon.
Breath of the Wild is the best game of all time. Don't at me, don't look at me, don't even talk to me, don't even think about me.
Wait,
That's kayfabe breaking. Noah.
Nah, bro. Super Metroid, nah.
Well, Ills.
Wait, are we sequence breaking now? What's going on here?
Saf.
When are we going to list Super Mario World as the best game of all time?
And Muzamil.
I'm not here for any wrestling references.
That's fine.
Don't say any. And Saf, I just want to say you're a smart man.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to convince me someday.
This is we've sequence broken, we're breaking kayfabe. Welcome to the Jump Up Supercast, everyone. This is a week. Did you know that?
No.
We are 7 weeks away from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, everyone.
Oh my goodness.
Why would you tell me that? No, I don't.
You're counting down to two things. One, I can't wait for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Two, your boy is turning 30 years old on the same day. So I'm kind of not looking forward to that because of
We'll have a big birthday bash for Brandon.
Yeah, old bitch.
What a time.
How does it feel to be so old?
Feels hurt. I'm hurting. I'm not as crippled as Saf, though.
You know what was 7 weeks away from Smash 3DS's release? The ESRB leak. I'm gonna post that GIF of the glass from Jurassic Park, the water vibrating. Be on the lookout, folks.
That was 7 weeks.
That was 7 weeks.
7 weeks in advance.
You guys are weird with the numbers that you remember these things on.
Looked it up earlier. Was not right. Did not have that one locked in.
I wouldn't be surprised if Muzzy did. That's crazy. That's crazy though. It didn't seem like that far out when it happened.
Mm-hmm. It was August to October. So.
Well, but also, I think this time the ESRB, I assume they're, cracking down on that. I assume last time Nintendo was not kind to them after,
No, that guy had a good day at work when they found out who it was.
Oh yeah.
But boys, we'll get into it a little bit on the news this week. This is we might just keep the streak going because we've talked about Telltale every week for the last 3 weeks. But this is just a fun little headline because there was a debrief that was done, I believe, by Kotaku, where it was one of the head writers for Telltale giving interviews about sort of what happened. And he mentioned how 2 games that they had worked on, Minecraft Story Mode and Guardians of the Galaxy, how they had written 2 episodes of Minecraft Story Mode, and that it was quote unquote extremely M-rated.
Wow.
They apparently, the Minecraft game, they wrote with swearing, with sexual content, like with just things that would get you in trouble. And then someone said, "You can't do this, dude. Come on, it's Minecraft," which I think is hilarious.
The target audience for a Minecraft game, like, come on.
Hard M, that's what I think of. 17 plus.
Yeah.
So Conker's Bad Fur Day sounding shit right there.
That's a very good comparison, actually, but they said they stopped them, I guess, probably thankfully. And then for Guardians of the Galaxy, they actually wrote a funnier game that was jokey, and then they came in and they said, no, when people look for Guardians of the Galaxy, they were looking for serious action violence, was the exact thing they were told in the email.
Who are these idiots that said that? What?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it was upper management that said that. So,
Oh my
I
god.
see why this fucking company went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
reason
the
why
thing.
Telltale failed. Oh.
yeah, maybe. I mean, might be part of it. Like,
Wait.
Man up there in that fucking
Hang on. Did upper management also tell them about Minecraft being...
yes. So they saved them. For every positive, there is a negative that they did. I think.
Just like Vince McMahon,
Yeah. But I just thought that was a funny headline, and I thought, man, what video games can be weird, especially when it comes to upper management. Speaking of which, the actual big news headline of the week for this week of video game discussion, basically, all came about because of an interview with Dan Houser. Have you ever heard of that name before?
No, sir.
Yes.
I've heard of Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser, one of the Hauser brothers. After becoming a child doctor, he ended up founding a game called Rockstar Games, a company called Rockstar Games. You may have heard of them. They're making a little game called Red Dead Redemption 2. They are famous, the Hauser brothers, for not doing a lot of interviews. But he did a rare one, and he might not be doing more anytime soon because he messed up a little
after
bit.
this one, I don't know if he's gonna.
Yeah. But he was talking about the work called. He was talking about making Red Dead Redemption 2, essentially, right? And he said that the polishing, the rewrites, the re-edits, that we do at Rockstar are immense. This is his quote. We were working 100-hour weeks several times in 2018. We finished the game and it had over 300,000 animations, 500,000 lines of dialogue, and many more lines of code. We would go through 70 different versions of a trailer, but the editors might make several hundred. This would go for trailers, for TV ads, for everything. And we make tons of suggestions, as will other members of the team. So, yeah. So the thing, though, at the very start of that is that they were working 100-hour weeks, and that, if you want to do the math there, is a lot.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Wait, 100 different versions of a trailer? What?
Yeah.
I
How?
I think they're just over exaggerating a little bit.
Well, no, I mean, I believe it because they're famous. People have said that they are anal about this stuff. But it'll just be little things. It'll just be like, cut this, make this shot longer, make this shot shorter, that type of stuff, right? Cut on this moment, not on this moment. We have, all this other stuff. But, I mean, this is a thing that we've heard not only with Rockstar. I guess we can get more specifically into Rockstar work culture in a bit, but it's true of CD Projekt Red. Recently had a storyline that was a story that basically talked about them having crunch culture. Same for Naughty Dog, right? And these are all companies that are extremely well known for having extremely well received games. And one of the common traits they all share is this work culture of 100-hour weeks, right? And essentially, it got a big conversation going online about 100-hour work weeks isn't a healthy thing to do, right? On the core base level, that's, 14-hour days. That's not going home. That's, sleeping in a sleeping bag at your job. And it ties into the culture of crunch, right? Which is a thing that if you've never heard before, basically means when the game is sort of wrapping up, they get there is sort of this understanding that you're just going to have to factor in 3 months of crunch time where you're not going home, where you're working, if it's not 100-hour weeks, 70 or 80-hour weeks, Hauser later clarified after they got some controversy about this, that he was only referring when he said 100-hour weeks to the senior writing staff, and that it's never expected of anyone at Rockstar, but sometimes they will just when they have passion. So with all that with all that stuff having been said, throwing it to you guys, like, what is your first blush when you read stories like this?
I mean, first and foremost, this isn't really something that's exclusive to the games industry. I'm sure we all perhaps went through a crunch culture during work. And this is a situation that's been ongoing for like fucking decades. Like when it comes to the video games industry, it's just straight up. There's a lot of reasons why people would have to go through crunch, and there's a lot of opportunities for like game developers to actually go through crunch culture. Like when your game is up for review by some upper management and they need to check it out, you would have to consider going through crunch. It's like, all right, we need to get this product ready for that particular review. Same for if like a publisher wants to add something or change something about a game. Like, say, for example, there's like, a lot of people like grappling in video games. We want you to fucking put in grappling. Then they would have to make more time to fucking add that mechanic to the game if necessary in regards to the situation. So it's one of those weird things that it's like, it's so been ingrained to the way game development works. It's kind of like a situation where I guess you kind of have to accept it because it's hard not to, because otherwise, how would you say no to the people that are funding you for that sort of shit?
Well, I think the point is that you'd want to combat this, in order to change that culture, not to just throw up your hands and say, "Oh, that's the way it is. That's the way it'll always be."
But how would you do that with this type of situation? Because like video games is a lot of money.
I mean, but like the outcry is probably a good thing in that sense, right? Like there's this large uproar this week about the working conditions that these people face, and that's probably a good thing, you know. Like,
Sure.
hopefully,
Yeah, I think we can say almost certainly, right? Like,
so hopefully it gets some people to kind of push back and realize, like, hey, maybe this isn't a good thing. This isn't healthy for me, you know.
Yeah.
That is true. But I also think at the same way, there's going to be a lot of people, you know, I can't speak for them myself, but I would think that there's a decent amount of them that love or are very passionate about what they do. So while it might still not be good for their health, they might still like doing it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I see the problem like arises of like, you know, if X or Y is doing it, then it's like if you're Z and you're not like working 70 hours a week, but your coworker is, you're just working a normal 40-hour week. Now you're seen as lazy, you know, and then so you know, it kind of falls into this weird trap of like now you're not seen as a hard worker because you're not willing to live at your job, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess to like the higher ups, they'll oh well, maybe.
Well, also your team, So if you're there like working 40-hour weeks and your buddy's working, 40-hour days, and your buddy's working like 8-hour days, and you see them leaving, you're like, oh fuck that guy.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
Don't
So
certain
it's
games,
kind of
don't certain games
it can engender like
sorry.
divisiveness.
Don't certain game studios have like actual showering or bathroom facilities to accommodate that?
Yeah, but that's to keep them in the building. That's not.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's like an unwritten message that you should be showering here, like spending the nights here is sort of an expected thing. And I think that the closest analogy a lot is that, like, you know, I mean, filmmaking for a very long time had this type of situation, right? Where people would work stupid amounts of days. And it took like 40 years and people dying on sets to sort of have a unionized movement come about, right? And now there are times that, you know, you can read these interviews with people where sometimes they'll be annoyed, right? Where you just have to take an hour of lunch or you just have to. It's the rules, right? And everyone has to follow them because the point of a union is that you're a collective group making bargaining, right? Yeah. And so, like, you know, on that level, I think that, I mean, that's the thing that people often say is unionizing as game developers is a thing that, like, the conversation to start having about that. I don't have enough experience to speak on that in the space of actually video games development, obviously. But I think that, you know, there is sort of a line to be said at a company not abusing the passion of the young person, right? Like, I think that's part of it too, is that, you know, like Adam Boyes, who, you know, was famously on stage for Sony for a very long time, has head up a lot of different games throughout his career, was on Twitter saying, like, when I was young, I would work 15-hour days. I would take a point of pride. And I think this comes a lot to work culture, right? A point of pride of doing this amount of days, right? A sort of like this camaraderie that comes with it. But then I got older and I realized I have a wife, I have a kid, I want to go home at the end of the day. My job is not my life. But there was already the expectation, because I had been doing that prior, that I would keep doing it. And I had to, like, verbally go up to the people that were above me and say, I'm going to be going home at 5 o'clock every day. I'm going to be working 40-hour weeks, not 80-hour weeks. And I think the fact that, you know, he was high enough in a role where he could do that, but there are plenty of people that aren't, you know, that sort of are burnt out by the time they're 30 when they're working in the game space.
Yeah, and there's also just to add to your point, when it comes to like big budget games, it's not really necessary to have that sort of crunch culture in order to make those types of games. Like Jason Schreier came out and talked about how he was discussing stuff with the developers for Spider-Man game, Marvel Spider-Man for PlayStation 4, and he was saying that no one actually had to work crunch times or crunch hours. They did it at their own leisure, and they managed to make a successful product and a critically acclaimed product as well. So
well, if that's true, then they did it the right way, because I mean, the culture of expectations that Rockstar is putting on their employees is a bit much, and probably the industry in general, not just them.
And that's part of it too, is like you said, it's not just Rockstar, it's all these other companies. But that, I remember hearing reports about this. I think maybe it was Schreier a couple of years ago that you mentioned him, Saf, where there was, sort of like I think it was when a development plan, right? Essentially like the timeline for the game came out, they wrote in crunch for the last 3 months, basically, right? It was a part of their project plan, essentially, right? Like, we can get it done by this time because we're just going to essentially have it be understood this is when crunch starts.
Yeah.
That's kind of indefensible.
And
like
EA has in the past has been known to be slave drivers with their employees, like really bad, like a good decade ago or so. More recently.
Yeah. I forgot what was the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about, Noah. There was like a big expose on it like 10 years ago or so now.
I feel like that's a failure of management more than anything else.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
Yeah, but it was frowned upon and everything, but that felt like that was the norm to like companies like EA and other like big AAA publishers and such.
Well, EA is a basket full of shitty practices.
I think one of the crazy things with looking at Red Dead Redemption 2 and hearing this news is knowing that, and this popped up on my. You know how Facebook does the 1 year ago or look back at this day thing every day?
Mm-hmm.
No,
I looked at it, and today I saw 1 year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. I'm not doing the math, but anyway, I saw a picture that I shared of Rockstar when they've just announced the official release date. Or the official release window for Red Dead Redemption 2. And they said it was coming fall 2017.
Yikes.
Yeah. And then it was spring. And then
so I shared that, and I was all very excited. And thinking, I saw that this morning, and was like, wow, it's crazy to think that they had delayed the game by a year, and here we are. It's finally coming out. But to think, they're in so much crunch time, but they gave themselves an extra fucking year.
Not only...
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Not only that game... is incredibly big. They never gave themselves time to actually try and compress it to a manageable size to be downloaded. Like,
I mean, I feel like part of it is these games are announced too early, Yes. And then there's this expectation, right? Like, I want it now,
Mm-hmm.
And even though like Rockstar gave themselves an extra year, it's like I can't imagine just having that publicly announced game and say it's fall 2017 and have those expectations on you. I can't imagine it helps, I can't imagine that like having that pressure put on you is like very nice. So I feel like part of it is maybe publishers need to hold off on announcing projects until like they're like closer to release, I don't know.
Yeah. Who's actually been really good about that? Capcom.
Nintendo.
But Capcom the last 3 years, right? Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 2, 3 games that were all announced at E3 were out by like January of the next year, right? 7 months, right? And all those games did well. I mean, we'll see about Resident Evil 2, but like I think that for a game like Red Dead Redemption, it doesn't need years of hype, right? Like in some ways, I feel like the time from announcement to release has almost hurt excitement for that game a little bit. Like obviously it's still going to be huge, but I think this idea that you have to announce these games partially to investors, partially to the public, if you condition them to expect closer announcement to release windows, that helps everyone. It helps developers and it helps consumers, I think.
Yeah.
I think no disagreement there, right? Because it's like Monster Hunter World is a perfect example, right? Like that game did fucking amazing, and it didn't need this years-long hype cycle, And that's a big AAA game, right? Like I don't know, I don't know why.
I'm already hyped for the sequel, and Taz has been announced yet.
I mean, how Call of Duty every year, right? Like it only needs a few months before it comes out to be announced, right? I don't know why certain games feel the need to announce like that early and ahead. Obviously, like, and then you have on the extreme, you have like Square, right? Or Final Fantasy 7 and just a whole bunch of.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's an example on not to do it because I've lost all interest in those games.
Yeah.
I think it also... Sorry, you want to say a point?
No, go ahead, Saf.
I think it also comes down to, like, publishers as well. Just, like, don't fucking apply so much pressure to your fucking dev studios. Like, trust them to do a good job.
Oh yeah, because the more pressure you put, the sloppier job they're gonna do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like I'm a big believer in any creative job, and I think in most jobs the idea of a lot of hours versus good hours, like
Right.
there are times like if you're working 14 hours in a row, hour 13 you're not going to be nearly as effective as you were at hour 1, right? Like if you feel energized when you are doing your job, a good hour can be worth 5 regular ones, and there are different companies that are trying that out, and it's by and large works.
I mean, that's partially the story that's coming out of these things, though, right? It's like a lot of you're hearing a lot of stories now of people saying, like, yeah, I could be working 8 hours and like working my ass off and like doing a great job, but these companies, they see me working 14 hours, I'm doing less of a job, like I'm doing like a lot of those hours I'm just doing nothing, but the fact that I'm there 14 hours just looks good, which is a problem.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And oh, sorry, Saf, you had a point before.
No, I was just about to back your statement up. It's like, I'm pretty sure there are studies that have come out that actually supports the idea of like working less hours would allow for more productivity than just shoving a whole bunch of people into an office and just working in like fucking 9 to 5 or even longer than that.
A games company that did this is Sega. A couple of years ago, they actually made an announcement, and they followed it up like last month, basically, because when I was looking up stuff for this, where they were talking about wanting to cut excessive overtime was the way they described it, I think. And essentially it was making sure that people never had more than 80 hours of overtime a month. And that they dropped that by 95%.
Jesus.
Now, if you do the math there, that means that you could still work 12 hours 5 days a week and still not hit 80 hours of overtime, which tells you that if they did an initiative that was common, like that was a regular occurrence. But they said that actually, after they put in this initiative, their games were getting done faster. Like that they actually needed less time for projects than they planned rather than more, because that was the concern, was if you require fewer hours of people, then things won't get done as more quickly. But this is a situation where you see a company trying, obviously it's baby steps, because you can still potentially work 12 hours a day 5 days a week, but seeing a reward for actually being better to your employees should be made note of by other people in the industry.
Right, it's a step in the right direction, basically.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's hard because games are unique, because like very rarely, like in a movie, you shoot a movie, you don't go to the editing room, like cut a scene, and then suddenly Captain America has like 2 heads and he's become just a horrible monster, and the movie falls apart. But in games that can happen, right? Sometimes you'll just hit a glitch that will ruin everything when you change something else, because programming's hard.
And also because games, you have to create the whole world. It's not like you're just putting a story in the world. You have to create everything. And
so like you can see why there are aspects of crunch culture that are unique to video games, because things can fall apart way more easily than in a movie, where because sometimes you imagine like even a game like No Man's Sky, like obviously that game launched broken, missing features, everything. It got a lot of negative press associated with it, of course, but I mean, they were talking about like they were still working 12-hour days and they just didn't get it done by the day they said they were going to launch, right? Like it wasn't, because it wasn't necessarily from lack of trying. It was just at some point, a game has to come out, and sometimes it'll just be broken.
Well,
and like
they fell victim to their own hype machine, basically.
That too. Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of overpromising that happened mixed in with that too. But it's the thing is that it permeates so much of gaming that it's hard to begin to find an answer. But I think we touched on a couple of things there, right? Like both for companies and for game developers to do. And unions are very important. That's hopefully not too political of a statement, but just, having workers be able to actually feel like they have some rights is good. So, I mean, there we go. That was a pretty lengthy conversation. I feel like a responsible adult having that conversation in some ways.
Hot damn, we made it to the big time.
I can't wait to completely destroy that with the list.
We're finally cowboys.
That feeling.
Well, we could even start it a little bit sooner if you want, because this happened last week, but we were pretty full on news and on list discussion. So I want to talk about it this week. Nintendo Switch Online, when it launched back in September, and they announced the NES Online, they mentioned that we are going to get SP versions of NES games once a month. And I said, that sounds okay. Well, we'll see what that is. We have our first instance of it, The Legend of Zelda SP. So this is a unique version of Zelda where you start basically upgraded. So you have 6 hearts, I believe. You get the white sword, which is the upgraded sword, upgraded shield, blue ring, power bracelet, just a whole manner of stuff to make the game easier, tons of rupees, that type of stuff, right? Which essentially was the idea was, in 2018, Zelda can be very inaccessible to new players. This is a way to help people sort of get a foothold before they start on their adventure. The funny thing is,
fucking whiny millennials.
the little whiny millennials out there can't handle Zelda. But the funniest part of this to me is that when I started it up, I noticed it didn't start on the title screen. It started like in the game, and I thought that's weird. And then I went to where like you get all of these unlockables, and they had already been done. And so I think essentially what they did is they just started the game, grinded all this stuff up, then made a save state and just sent that save state out to everybody. Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. It's a save like so like even when you start the game, it doesn't start at the beginning of the loop with the song. It's like in the middle of the song. Huh.
Yeah.
Literally what they did was like everything you can do outside of the dungeons, they just did that for you. Which is pretty fun.
Yes. So
which is, I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. Like it's you know.
It makes me laugh mostly.
Yeah, it's just a neat little way to play the Legend of Zelda. You know, like you don't have to get all the stuff in the overworld. Just go to the dungeons. You're pretty overpowered. Feels pretty nice.
I mean,
yeah, it's funny how they handled it. That's for sure. Yeah, like just.
I guess I wonder like what other games, right, will do this. How will they do, like how would they go about it, right? So like it's weird because a lot of NES games, like I don't think they have the ability for you to start at the beginning after you do things, right?
Like I can understand, like I get it, maybe it would make sense for like games that are grindy, like RPGs or JRPGs and things like that, but like Legend of Zelda was like half the fun was exploring and finding the things in the overworld was in the first place.
I mean, I guess you can still look for the dungeons.
Yeah.
And
you still have to find the dungeons.
And the base game is still there, right? That's the thing that should be worth mentioning. Is like this is an alternative, basically, right? Like.
Yeah, you can still play the original version.
Can you go like play the original, like start as the original?
Yeah, like in the Nintendo Switch Online app, like,
the original's still there.
Original. Actually, what I don't like is how it's a separate icon.
So you can
kind of annoys me. It's like too.
Yeah, that kind of annoys me too.
Just to clarify one thing: are all the SP versions just basically that?
Well, this is the first one, so we don't know.
It's the only one that's appeared so far.
So. What I want us to do is to imagine they get a little bit more labor intensive, just a little bit more. What?
Instead of sending a save state to people.
What are some options what are some SP games you would be interested in? NES games, do you think, man, if they just did this one thing, I would actually probably pick this game up more quickly?
Go first. Because
go for it, Seth.
There's 2 games. Super Mario Bros. 1. I want them to attach the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 at the end of that. And
you just want the lost levels at the end of it.
Yeah, I would totally enjoy that.
So you hate yourself?
So you want to make Super Mario Bros. A worse game?
I want to make it longer. I want to make it longer for me.
Add that game separately.
The Lost Levels is not a good game. Like, just flat out, it sucks. it's shit.
I mean, Super Mario Bros. All they've done was like they did the first. Well, for the All Stars version, they did the first 8 worlds, and then they added worlds A, B, C, and D just for the sake of it. So it's like, why not just go the whole hog and just add Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels to it? That seems fun to me. The other one is Super Mario Bros. 2. I would love to push a button and it just changes the skins to Donkey Donkey Panic.
That would be cool, actually.
That actually would be really cool if they if they had did that with Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah.
Because I don't like I assume pretty much none of us have played the original Doki Doki Panic, right? Like
no.
No. Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
That would be really fun to
see.
do.
And, yeah, and I think
to the
there's
game club.
that would be sick. I mean, they have a willingness to do this now. Like Star Fox 2 came out last year. Like that's a crazy thing, you know? Like I think that they're more willing to acknowledge these weird little like past events that like sort of go unknown now. Things like Doki Doki Panic and Star Fox 2. I think that could happen.
So then where's my Mother 3? Tell me that, Will. Where the fuck is my Mother 3?
Is Mother 3 an NES game is the question.
I don't care about that. Is Star Fox 2 an NES game?
No, but I was like, in that point, yeah, I agree. Actually, yeah, 100%.
Oh, actually, that gives me an idea, though. I would like Earthbound Beginnings to show up, but there's a famous ROM hack for Mother 1, where, like, it just makes the game way more tolerable, because, like, you just need less grinding. Like, the encounter rate is less, you need to grind less, like, it just makes because, Earthbound Beginnings, I don't know if you've played it, it's a frustrating game.
Yeah.
So, adding in those fixes from the ROM hack would be pretty cool. I think that'd be nice.
I would be down in a very similar vein for just here's Simon's quest, but the sentences make sense. All the hints, in Simon's
somebody made a ROM hack.
Yeah, and also the night transitions don't take that long. The day and night transitions.
Yeah,
they like take half the time as normally do.
And something like that. Yeah, make that a game because there's neat stuff in Simon's Quest, but boy is it obtuse and stupid. So like I would like to have that.
Some smart
That's
guy
great
out
music
there
though.
already did it.
Gotta say, Simon's Quest. Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Oh baby. Yeah, I think a similar thing for like Metroid, but you have a map now. Like something like that. Just like a
I wonder
just
if
a
they
little
could do that. Like, is that like possible? Like, if they could patch in a map into
It's called Super
Metroid.
Metroid.
believe.
It's called Metroid Zero Mission.
It is.
That's it.
Wow, you're not wrong. Any other ones, boys? Any other weirdos?
Can't think of anything off the top
I want
of my head.
Tecmo Bowl with machine guns.
Yeah, I just put guns in every game.
I want Star Tropics 1 and 2.
Just
You just
period.
want them.
That's it.
Just period.
Just period.
I think that.
But you have to. It comes with the thing. It comes with a little hint because you don't have your instruction booklet anymore to dip into water to get the code.
Well, they did that on the Wii version.
They did.
If you looked in the instruction manual.
Really? That's really neat.
Yeah, on the Virtual Console.
Just for all of NES Online, give me the instruction booklets. I want them back, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish. It's
Yeah.
weird because like on Wii U Virtual Console they did that. I think, but
You know what game had a sick one? Earthbound. He had the whole strategy guide. It was
The
so
whole
cool.
Wait,
I
what?
mean, it literally was just a link that opened up the fucking web browser to the
We
strategy
take it.
guide,
We
but-
take
but they,
It's-
it was perfectly formatted for the Wii U gamepad.
It was still cool though. Yeah.
That's pretty
so
interesting.
cool.
I didn't know that.
I got another one. Ninja Gaiden, but when you kill the enemies, they stay fucking dead.
Oh, jeez.
Oh God.
Wow, that's a
Make
game.
that game
That's a
good.
completely different game. Yeah.
Make the game good.
I had that
Actually a
thought.
good one.
I had that thought with Ninja Gaiden and Castlevania, just a knockback mod. Just like hey, you don't get knocked back 50 feet when you get hit.
Yeah, maybe just 5 feet.
You guys hate fun.
Castlevania, I actually want to keep the knockback because I think it's good.
I have fun dying. It's fun.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden is fun.
There's a question mark on that one.
It's kind of a bitch, yeah.
It's got tight gameplay, but it's hard for no
Yeah.
fucking reason.
And the enemy placements are pretty fucking cheap.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like those birds?
The Hawks, yeah.
Constantly flying at you?
Fucking birds.
Yeah. So that was just a fun little thing. NES SP, we're probably gonna be disappointed. Probably like, here's Mario Brothers, but you have 99 lives. You're like, thanks Nintendo, but you know what? We'll take whatever they give us because we're pigs at slop. It's fine. Speaking
Speak
of
for yourself.
Brandon, I will say though, as a little transition. Speaking of just a whole game service now available to you, you may have heard of the service that we are using right now called Discord.
Whoa.
No, please explain. I've never heard of it before.
Well, Brandon, it is a chat service. I'm not going to do that. If you don't know what Discord is, look it up. Discord, though.
Wow.
if a new thing, even if you use Discord, you may not have noticed. There's now a little store tab up there.
Wow.
Discord has added a storefront. And not only that, but before that, Discord had a service called Discord Nitro, and the things it let you do was it let you have an animated avatar and let you use your emotes in multiple different chat rooms for $5 a month. Some say that was a ripoff. To Will, it was enough, because I've been a sap for a very long time. But now Discord Nitro is a Game Pass-like service. Essentially, if you get it right now on it, there's 30 games, I think is the exact number, that you can now download. They vary in size and in quality, but there's a couple of things of note along the way. But the one fun thing, just going to do a little bragging here. If you had Nitro before the thing launched, you get it free until 2020. So sorry everyone that didn't, get over it. But some games
free.
like
You're still paying $5 a month. You're paying half the price that other people would pay. To be clear.
Don't worry. I don't like to think about it that way. But yeah, there's just a bunch of like pretty neat indie games that, like, if you haven't picked up, this is a fine way to do it. Guacamelee, Inside, Torchlight, FTL, just a bunch of games like that to sort of look at. Oh, both Darksiders games are here, both the Blob games. But what I want to talk about more broadly than just specifically Discord is the state of shops on the PC a little bit, because we've often insulted Steam here, right?
Have we? I do it offline, off the podcast.
No,
but I don't know if I did.
I remember one time we talked about storefronts. I remember one time we talked about storefronts and we just crapped on Steam for forever. But
I don't remember that.
Well, I have it all locked up in here. It's like a vice in my brain. But essentially, do you guys think, because obviously console manufacturers, you cannot have other storefronts. It's not like Microsoft's going to be like, hey, you can buy a thing off, Sony's store on the Xbox. That would be stupid. But the PC you can. And so basically the question is, do you feel the need for things like Discord, or do you think that giving a shot at this, or do you think it's just a waste of everyone's time? And B, do you think that Steam, would you like an alternative to Steam, basically?
So, I talk about this a lot, so I just want to chime in here. I'm glad that Steam is getting a proper competitor. We'll see how it works out for Discord, but they have a very large user base.
It's very early going. Yeah.
Millions of people use Discord, right? So it already makes sense to be like the strongest competitor to Steam here, right? It'll be interesting to see, because I think Steam, everyone, there's this common refrain, right, where it's like, if it's not on Steam, I don't want to buy it.
Yeah.
And that's stupid, because I don't know, like it's you're still using your PC. You just have to open a different launcher. Like, Jesus Christ. And I get it. For example, the Microsoft Store is a mess, right? There's a ton of problems with that thing. So if Discord can come in and offer a viable alternative to Steam, that will be nice, because I think it would just make Steam better, I think Valve would kind of have that fire under them that, hey, we want people to keep using Steam.
Competition is good.
I hope Discord succeeds. It's interesting, though, because something that's been lobbed at Steam a lot lately is that there's too many games on the platform, right? And this idea that, they're too open with who can release a game on Steam. And so Discord is coming in, and the way they're advertising their store, I find fascinating, because they're saying that, it's going to be a very curated list that they put on their store. And I think that's interesting.
I mean, I can tell you,
I like
scrolling
that.
through it, whenever you mouse over any game, if it has a Metacritic score, it will pop up the Metacritic score. Right, it'll tell you how the game's reviewed, right? And you can click and you'll see a bunch of reviews from actual publications rather than just user reviews like on Steam. And so I think that is neat, like you said. The other thing that's cool about it, that because I was using it earlier, is that actually, because I think the reason that people like Steam so much is because it's the all-in-one, right? All your games are already on Steam. Why would I move?
Yeah.
With Discord, I went to my library thing and it says import games, and I clicked it, and every single Steam game and every single non-Steam game I have installed on my PC is just now here. So I haven't opened Steam for the last week, basically. which is interesting. So, I mean, as a service, it is good, like you said. But I think, to me, the interesting thing is just the idea of having a competitor in any way in the market,
I think Discord is finally going to make Valve give us Half-Life 3.
That's it. I would be. That's it. That's what we've secretly been hoping for.
This is what it's all leading to. You see, Steam's gonna go down. The only way they can get back up is Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
But yeah, it's pretty convenient. I did that import games thing, and I was surprised that it found all my games like within a second or two. It was pretty sweet. And I'm excited about the Game Pass function. I might subscribe to it because a lot of cool games they have on this first wave. Like I was surprised by the selection they have. It's pretty nice.
I think because they hit some like really big indie games, they have some neat multiplayer stuff going on there, and then they have some stuff that came out I know in the last year. And so it's nice to sort of have all a more diverse list come at it for a service like this to launch.
I think the multiplayer aspect is going to be fascinating, especially right because like the main function of Discord is socializing with people, right? And so it's like, hey, you should subscribe to Nitro so we could play this game on Discord. That'll be a very interesting thing to see. I could definitely.
What would be amazing if if you had like certain channels, if you're playing a game that you can invite people to, and they can watch you play the game like a stream.
That's super a thing that I think that they should look at. Actually, I agree a whole lot.
That's a good idea.
Because Steam kind of has that with like Steam Watch, but like
it's clunky.
The video player's bad. The connection is oftentimes garbage. Like it's just not. It's there, but it's not a thing I use at any time like happily. And so I think having the alternative.
But like, imagine just like being able to be in like a voice chat or like the text chat, and just like it's basically just a better Twitch.
Yeah.
But you're able to interact directly with people, like being in the same voice call and everything.
Like it's fast because like Discord has so many people using it already, right? And the way they advertise themselves is for gamers, right? They're like, this is the best place for you to meet up to play multiplayer games or whatever, right? Like they offer great text service, great voice chat service. And so it'll be interesting. I think Discord is very uniquely positioned in a way to take on these big names like Steam and like Twitch, like you said, right? So I don't know. I'm very interested to see where Discord goes after this.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've been growing in really interesting ways.
Yeah. And like after this, we're gonna try to play Jackbox Party Pack 5 because Brandon's got it now, and like we're gonna go into a separate voice call. Brandon's gonna have to stick in his capture card, screen capture, then do the screen share in a private Discord call. Imagine if instead it was just open window in voice chat, boom, right? Like that would be.
Well, I mean, they already have it where you can link your Xbox to it, to your Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Like that'd be kind of cool if if I was playing Xbox, not only could you see the fact that I am and what game I'm playing, but you could maybe click on my name.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could have the option to allow it, people could watch whatever you're playing as you're playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's neat. And like, I mean, I think they kind of already have that with like Spotify. If you're playing Spotify and you click someone's name while they're watching Spotify, it'll show the song, the exact moment in the song that they're listening to it. Just like you can click it and start listening at that exact moment, right?
I like that a lot. That's super cool. Like you can see, they're listening to this song. And it shows exactly where they are in the song and everything. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to do with like Xbox. Brandon's playing this game, being an achievement hoard, selling out. Where exactly in this game is he doing that?
To be fair, that's the only thing I think of when I think of
with
you.
all these things, right? Like, and I like streaming. Like, I definitely see them going after that. But I hope the outcome is that they provide strong competition, but don't like take over necessarily.
That's the thing.
I want the other guys to get better too. I hope that's the outcome, especially.
I mean, yeah. Because right now there is still a big gap between Twitch, who is owned by Amazon, has a whole infrastructure built around it. Steam, which has obviously been the king of this market for a decade. I think that Discord becoming a competitor should be the thing that happens first before we start worrying about them becoming this monolith,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it'll just competing with Steam will be hard enough, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess good luck to him is sort of the sentiment that we have. But
it's exciting.
That is the news for this week. lot of stuff going on there. Good job. I feel like we swapped gears multiple times pretty smoothly. Now we're going to swap into high gear because it's time for the list.
The list.
The list.
That was good. That was good. It was good except for one of us.
Fucking Clem Muzzy.
Lacking.
But we are right after illzaMania has wrecked Devastation on the list. If you want to listen to what has been wrought, go listen to that one. It should be on your feeds, hopefully. But you know what? Now that we're all equal, time to finish the cycle. Noah, you are up.
Mm-hmm. I am up. So I've been giving this a little bit of thought. I had a random thought today. Luckily, I had more than 40 minutes to think about it.
God bless.
Somebody doing
As we know,
some
40
prep
is
work.
just not enough.
But yeah, like I came up with a random idea. Like I popped in my head is like, how did Street Fighter V hold up after so long? Because when it first came out, I had a lot of I had hype for it, and then I was disappointed, but then it got a little better as it went on. So I was really interested to see where you guys think it would go on this list.
Ooh.
Like to see where it would place itself.
This is a hard one, Noah.
This is...
Oh,
I know. This is what I was
Brandon's
thinking
checking
about.
out. Especially 'cause I never played.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
let's
don't think
get
I
a read.
I barely played this game.
So like,
Well, it's
this
Will
one-
Moose and Noah. Here we are.
So
Well,
So it's like
I thought more people
half
played it.
no,
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine.
We're
We
here.
can make it work.
We did Walking Dead that one week, and that was
Yeah.
only me, Brandon, and Noah. I mean,
So
Tef.
this game is fascinating, right? Because it's like, how much do we value how shit it was at launch? You know what I mean? Like,
I know, right?
Where do we? Yeah, do we consider it now? Yeah, the timeline.
Well, I think it should be like a major part because, again, like everybody was hyped for it. When it came out, it was literally a not a beta, was it early access?
Yeah, I mean,
it felt
It was
very
literally
early
access,
access, right? Like there was almost
yeah,
no
it was, like,
single player
very bare
content.
bones.
There was 16 characters, I
Yeah.
think. And which
I mean, there was barely
there was
any
12.
multiplayer content if you think about it.
Yeah, it was pretty basic matchmaking. The matchmaking wasn't great at launch, netcode wise too.
But then, like, I don't know how
as
fair
like
is it
after
to
a couple
consider...
years, it feels like
yeah.
So,
I just want to say, like, what the game is now, though, it's just a completely different beast, right? Like, this is there's just
The
way
roster
more
has more than
content.
tripled.
Yeah.
Well, I think
But that's the thing. It took them 3 years to get to where they originally.
I think
envisioned it to
Arcade
be.
Edition is where the game becomes like, okay, like this is what Street Fighter V should have been, right? Like I think we can all agree like that's about where
We always go for let's rank its best version.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
So it would be. So would you want to go with Arcade Edition?
So I mean, but technically, like,
Actually, no, I
it's
wanted to
technically
go
the
with the
same
original.
game, right? It's just like that Arcade Edition was an update for Street Fighter V. So I don't know. It's hard. I feel like we should
But I mean,
think of it as the latest version, but I think we should factor in its terrible launch. You know, maybe not
Yeah.
that much, but
Yeah.
we should like to an extent. Like it does matter, right? Like
I mean,
It does matter.
the
a
thing
lot.
was Arcade Edition would have just been the new version, except for the season pass system being implemented.
yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, I think how much this game costs to get all of it should be factored in.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like, it costs a lot to get
Yeah.
in, right? Like, I mean, yeah, like, there's versions where you can buy now that have a lot of the season pass content, right? But if you're like Noah and you bought the game at launch, like, to be updated with the game, you're gonna have to pay a hefty sum, you
How
know?
much?
Like, you will.
It's gonna be near $100 probably.
Oh.
That's it's pretty
It's
bad.
it's like 18 characters, so like do the math on that one. But like, yeah, it's across
And,
3
like, there's
seasons,
bundles and
essentially.
stuff to make it cheaper, but still, you know, it's like, it's still a lot.
If you
know?
were buying as they were coming out, that's how much it would
Yeah.
An
cost.
easier choice would have been something like Splatoon because it started off in.
Well, we're not here for easy sap.
Yeah, we're not here for you. Your choice.
We're
Yeah.
here because of this, basically, right?
I like this choice. So I mean, I don't know, Noah. Do you want to start on where you would put it? Because I think I have a decent idea of where I want to place it, but
Yeah.
Because it should be said, we've crept on it a lot, but it's a very good fighting game. Like,
Yeah.
At the core of its design.
But that's the thing is, like, it's like, it did turn out to be a really good thing. It just took out a lot of money, a lot more time, and a lot of patience for people.
And I think it is worth mentioning that, like, at its core, though, even at launch, I think the gameplay was always something lauded, right? Like, people, like, always...
Yeah, also, like, considering they were going for, like, a complete reboot of the series. Right. Like, knowing what Street Fighter 2 was, they went into Alpha, 3 Alpha or whatever it was, and then into 4, and then they just, like, you know what, we're starting over.
They did a hard reset, right.
And they just took such a hard, rough start, though. I think...
This is a game that could have taken 6 months in the oven.
Yeah, this is one of those games where they should have just taken their time. I'm looking around the 40 area, honestly.
Whoa.
Wait, I think
just because of that.
I
rough
think the best
start.
comparison is the Dragon Ball Z Fighters, Dragon Ball Fighters.
That's the thing. It ended up being like near that quality, but because of its really rough start.
But if you play a game,
I'm trying to think.
Like, I'd be willing to go up to the 30s, I guess. But I wouldn't go past 30.
I think I agree. Go on, Seth.
It's like, if you play the game today, are you going to be playing it with that kind of like shitty start? Or is there actually some content that you can actually enjoy without having to fork out the extra cash for the extra characters and shit? Because I feel as though it would...
I mean, like, I think if
you pay the $60, the Arcade Edition has the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's the 10 characters, and it's $40.
And it's a $40
That would be what
game.
you'd be buying down.
So, like,
and then season 3 is the other 20.
Yeah, so, like, with $60, you're all caught up. You know, if you bought it today as a $60 game, you're good to go.
The price thing is kind of weird. I mean, depending on when you buy any game, it could be like $10.
Yeah, I think it's just worth noting, though, that, like, if you did buy it at launch, though, you know, if you want all those characters, you know, you're still stuck with that minuscule roster unless you pay up. And I think that...
Yeah, because, like, Shovel Knight...
That's what I mean.
Because, like, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove is on here. We ranked Shovel Knight Treasure Trove higher than we ranked the original Shovel Knight on the old list because... It was repackaged as all one product. It's this.
Well, yeah,
and those content updates came to everyone.
I would call that more. I would call that more judging the best version rather than talking about price.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like, I'm not considering the arcade version. I'm considering the.
He's considering the original.
Oh,
okay.
So in order to get to that level, you would have to fork over all that extra.
I think you should.
If we were putting the other game on the list, it would be Arcade Edition.
Yeah, I think you should just go with Arcade Edition. I don't.
Well, I mean, this is Noah can do.
Yeah, it's just. I'm just saying for consistency with the rest of the list. I think we should always rank the best version of every game.
The best version. I think that's fair. I guess like just. But even with Arcade Edition, I think it's just like maybe not heavily factored, but like I think it should still like be in our mind though. You know, of like that.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
I mean,
because it's part of what made that game. Like it's part of the base game.
And the thing is,
what came with it.
Like Muzamil famously said that Dragon Ball FighterZ is the worst single player experience he's ever had in his entire life.
Oh my god!
But I mean, we waited like a year and a half for story mode for Street Fighter V, and it was not great. It was like it was fine. It was like an hour. It was an hour, and like the cutscenes were pretty stiff. The story was just kind of weird. I mean, it was better than nothing, of course, but you know, I think that in that way they are sort of comparable.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely put it in that. I'm thinking like, do I put it above or below Dragon Ball FighterZ? I guess that's my question, right?
I'd say
and I think Dragon Ball FighterZ.
I would say
at least Dragon Ball FighterZ like did the fan service way better than Street Fighter did.
Like
they were both aiming to please the hardcore fans of. Well, they were going for the Street Fighter series. They were going for all the Street Fighter fans, and Dragon Ball was going for all the Dragon Ball fans. Dragon Ball Z did it way better than fucking Street Fighter 5 did.
I think.
Did you see Ken's face? It's not very good.
Ken's
oh my god!
Yes, banana hair.
That's a nitpick. That's a nitpick. I'm calling it.
But I think Dragon Ball FighterZ is overall just a way better package. You know, like so. I definitely like below. I guess. Then the question becomes, how do we consider it against Drill Dozer, Winback, Elite Beat Asians? I would put it below Stardew Valley, I think. I think that's the spot I'm kind of settling at, right? Thinking about it.
I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. Well, maybe one more spot lower.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good choice.
You know what?
I didn't play Castlevania Bloodlines, so I can't say. So, but if you guys feel like it's below that,
I'm willing to do that. I think that's fair.
below Castlevania Bloodlines. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm fine with that
That's a
ranking,
good
to be
spot.
honest. Like Street Fighter 5 is a great game, but like it was a mess at launch. It's expensive. And even even if you buy Arcade Edition today, the thing is like all the extra stages, all the extra costumes, like it's a lot of money, you know?
Yes.
I don't know, like DLC practices like that like kind of rub me the wrong way, you know?
Yeah. And also considering that since it doesn't really have much single player content, you have to mostly play in multiplayer. And if you play online multiplayer, there's a lot of hardcore fighting game players out there. If you're new to the game or you're trying to learn, you're gonna get fucked up the ass so hard. So hard.
It is true.
Like no lube, nothing.
Also, like I think in general,
the moment has passed.
It's not accessible to
better
new players.
tutorials would have been nice in this game for sure, you know. Because I think one of the things I really like about Dragon Ball
100%.
FighterZ is like the tutorial is like it has like specific character tutorials, which I think is really neat. I don't know if Street Fighter 5 ever added that in, but
They added it in later.
Oh, okay.
It was not at launch, but
Oh.
but even then, I would say that Dragon Ball FighterZ did it better.
yeah, and it's just more. I think
Arc Sys
Dragon Ball
Arc
FighterZ is a
System
more
Works is just
accessible
really
game,
good at
I
explaining
think.
it.
Like it's just like because I play Dragon Ball FighterZ with friends locally, and you know because of the auto combo system and stuff like that, like without really knowing what you're doing, you can still have a fun time. If you don't know what you're doing in Street Fighter, you will not have a fun time. Like flat out, it's just not fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with me. Like one of my friends got, was like, "Hey, let's play." I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool. I love Street Fighter." I didn't like Street Fighter.
That sounds like me when I fucking played Melee against somebody who was real good at it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I know how to do it.
settled. It's
All I need to
Street
know
Fighter
is to know how to do it in Hadouken, and then
Can I throw a fireball? Yeah. So there we go. I think the three people that played it are in agreement, I suppose. Number 38 on the list, Street Fighter 5. I never would have thought of that one, Noah. Thank you. So surrounding it though, 36 Stardew Valley, 37 Castlevania Bloodlines, 38 Street Fighter 5, 39 Cave Story, and number 40 Limbo.
Yeah, it feels good.
There we go.
It feels like a good
Feels
placement.
good.
I feel good about that one.
This is a good placement. Yeah, this is good. This is good. This is a good one.
You know what else was a good one? This podcast.
hot damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is the podcast. Well, thank you all for listening. You know what? Noah, I think you get the final phrase because you caught me off guard with Street Fighter. But while you think on that, let me of course direct everyone's attention to the man behind the curtain. Twitch.tv/JumpUpSupercast. There we go. Twitter.com/JumpUpSupercast. Go on both of those places. Follow us on both to be aware of when we do stream on Twitch. And whenever these episodes go live, we've been doing like 2 a week for the last month, essentially, I think, basically.
We've had a lot of special episodes.
Because we've
and
had a lot of very special episodes.
And then you add in the club, and it's just like a lot of content from the Jump Up Supercast.
I'm pretty proud of us in that.
We got a lot of special people.
A lot of special people.
A lot of work going on behind the scenes. Lots of people putting in an effort. You guys are doing a great job, all of you.
Yeah,
thanks.
I had that thought while I was driving home the other day. I thought I want to specifically shout out Saf and Noah for doing the editing in the wee hours of the morning to get this podcast live. So well done, boys.
Thank you.
Also for Saf for staying up till I think 4 a.m. But with all that having been said, Noah, if you could give us your final phrase.
Okay. All right. To all the big suits and chiefs or whether these companies that run the developers or these game studios, we're not robots. Don't make the developers work ridiculous hours. And you might actually get to see what passion can really bring when they actually can work in proper working environments.